All right, everybody hear me? Hello. Everybody have a good lunch? Everybody awake? Do we need to do jumping jacks? I'm too tall for this, Mike. All right, welcome to a game demo that you didn't know you needed. For those of you who don't know me, I'm JD, Senior Software Engineer at Hero Devs, and since this is a sponsored session and they're my employer, say a quick word, we're one up for your open source software. We keep end-of-life open source software safe, secure, compliant, and compatible. All right, that's enough of the commercial. So we're going to start level 1, and yes, it is a tutorial. That was easy, right? All right, so I'm JD. Already been over this. I'm on the Drupal community working group conflict resolution team. Been doing Drupal for over 10 years now. I used to be a paramedic, and I've been coding since the 80s, and I also stream on Twitch, Twitch TV. JD does dev, so I'll give you all a second to follow that. I don't see enough phones getting. Thank you. All right, so here's a chance to run if it's not something that you're interested in. What are we going to talk about today? Well, my computer falling down. Quite a bit. First, what is Godot? Who here knows what Godot is and doesn't know? Well, I guess it would be everybody. Either you know or you don't. Who here knows what Godot is? All right. Good chunk of people. Why connect to Drupal? How to connect to Drupal? A couple of use cases, and we're going to attempt a live demo, which if you've ever seen a live demo, you know how that can go, and that's why I say attempt. And if there's time, we'll do some Q&A. So, okay. Wrong thing. I already closed everything down, I'm not gonna worry. I appreciate it though. So what is Godot? Aside from a creepy robot following me around. It's a free and open source game engine introduced in 2007. A lot of games have been made with it. It's not as popular as some other ones, but it's completely free to use, completely free to publish, completely free and open source. And in a lot of ways, it reminds me of Drupal because it is free and open source. Anybody can use it. It's got a great community. What does it do? Well, quite a bit. It's got 2D and 3D capabilities for PC, mobile, web, and console. It's extremely customizable through community add-ons, which might sound familiar. It's got a node-based architecture, so a lot of object-oriented. Pretty straightforward API integration, and it's pronounced Godot. I will fight anybody who says otherwise. It is pronounced Godot. What is Drupal? Well, if you have to ask, you might be in the wrong place, but you're still welcome here. Drupal is a free and open source content management system built in PHP. So what was I thinking by connecting these two? I wasn't. But it's been a lot of fun seeing what I could come up with. The Drupal backend is great for content. That's what Drupal does best. It holds content. You can use Drupal for authentication. You can have people log in that way, or have API OAuth calls, which we'll get into that a little bit. Drupal can hold a lot of things that you don't think of. You could get level data, depending on the format, different assets. You could have interaction data, maybe dialogue for a game, all kinds of stuff. Godot can run HTTP requests to get data from the CMS. And it can update in-game content in real time, right away. You don't have to wait for it. No 2-hour Steam downloads just to get a new skin. All right, this is going to be a boss battle here, but he's on break. Okay, welcome to level 2. First level, pretty easy, right? We're going to talk about how we can integrate Drupal with Godot. This is where things kind of get a little bit exciting. Drupal offers, there we go, multiple APIs for integration. We're going to mostly talk about JSON API because it's included in Drupal core, follows pretty established standards, but each of these has their own use cases. REST API, GraphQL, they're all available through Drupal. Use whatever you feel like. Godot has several ways to ingest content from an external source. We could do it through HTTP request. It's got built-in functionality for that. It can also listen for WebSockets, subscribe to different events that way, or set up its own HTTP server so you can call webhooks to get, if there's an update on the Drupal side to say, hey, fix this. But we're mostly going to be focusing on HTTP requests because we can use that to tap into JSON API. Security. Security is crucial when connecting your game to external services. We're going to briefly touch on security, but that's an entire session by itself. OAuth 2 is great for user-specific content. API keys work great for general game-to-server communication, and custom tokens offer maximum flexibility. Ah, crap. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Thank you. All right, still no boss. But the authentication system that you choose will significantly impact the difficulty of building out your app. Type of app you're building might impact the type of authentication you need. You might not need OAuth if you're just doing one-way connection, and you definitely don't want to skimp on security when it's time. Now, let's talk about how we're actually going to implement this stuff. We'll start on the Drupal side. All right, first thing we need to do, enable JSON API. Create content type for Godot to use. Add the contribute modules that we need. Set up security and authentication. And add some content. Keep in mind that these steps might vary slightly depending on what version of Drupal you're using or what you're wanting to accomplish with it. All right. So this is where it gets difficult because I can't mirror, and I'm going to be cracking my neck to try and see here. All right, so I've got JSON API enabled. God, this was slightly turned. And you know how hard this is. I wonder, will changing it to mirror display mess up the recording? Does anybody know? We might just find out. Nice. Okay, I'm trying to get into the JSON API to show some of the extras that we added in there. Another one, JSON API extras. Who's not familiar with that, or who's used JSON API in Drupal? Quite a few. Good. JSON API extras adds quite a bit to it. Specifically, resource overrides are what I like about it. And there's also JSON API include and defaults. Now, who here has used JSON API and tried to do something with a referenced entity? That's where include and defaults come in. And I'll show you here. We have a node sprite, so sprite sheets we can put in there. It has a reference to a media image, or to an image, So when you have this in the include list, it actually becomes part of the JSON API that's output for the node instead of having to dig down and follow link after link. That's one of the reasons I think this is a great module for that purpose. Any questions while I'm going to, feel free to raise your hand or yell over me. And then we created a couple of content types. We've got Sprite, which is going to be a media. So we're going to put images in there. And questions, where we can do trivia questions. All right. Oh, sweet. It goes back to the same settings. Right on. All right. So any questions over any of that so far? Anything anybody missed? Yeah, it's a third one on top of, it goes on top of extras.
And what's it called? It's called JSON includes?
Yep, let me make sure I'm telling you the right name here. JSON API include. Awesome. Okay, now what do we do to set up Godot? Well, if you're not familiar with it, it's actually pretty straightforward. We need to set up our HTTP request handling and JSON parsing. A secure connection is important, especially for anything public facing, but we don't have enough time to get into OAuth to tokens, anything like that. That's another 5 sessions on its own. We also need to have a way for Godot to pull Drupal for data. So now we get to take a look at Godot. Switch back here. Is this too difficult for people to see? I can't really do much about the editor size over here, but anything in here, I'll try to get a little bit bigger for you. So in Godot, like I said, it has a node-based architecture where everything is a node. Not quite the same as Drupal, but close enough. And when you want to add something new, you add it as a node, create different scenes. What I have here is a special node type that is just an HTTP getter, reaches out to Godot, or to Drupal, to the URL that we set, and it gets the data from JSON API. If it's an image, then it downloads the image and loads that in. If it's text, then it parses the text and puts it where it needs to be. Any questions on this, or also Godot uses 2 different languages. You can use C# or you can use GDScript, which is Godot's own language. If you look at it, it looks a lot like Python. It feels a lot like Python. It doesn't hiss like Python, but if you know PHP, you could pick it up pretty easily, I think, in my opinion. Any questions? Okay. Integration isn't always easy. There are a lot of opportunities for mistake, but that can lead to data not getting transferred, security breaches, broken games, disappointed families, broken hearts. Also, I don't remember if I put in a boss. Okay, so we looked at some of the theory, some of the behind the scenes things, but what about practical applications for this? I mean, why even bother? Well, obvious example, a trivia game. Add the questions and answers in Drupal, pull them into Godot. Otherwise, you have to find a different way to save all the data. A lot of people use dictionaries in Godot, which is very similar to JSON object, but just different enough to be called a dictionary. But they're hard to edit, and you have to go through the file, find the questions. If you add them as nodes in Drupal, it's pretty trivial to add trivia. And we could do that by storing the questions and answers in the CMS. We could update questions. Has anybody ever seen a trivia question that had the wrong answer? Never seen it? Well, somebody asking the wrong answer? Well, then they could go in and fix it. You can sort the questions by category using vocabularies and taxonomy terms. And you can use Godot to pull in questions as needed via JSON API. Yeah, JSON API. So now, we can show that. All right, so I've got a very simple setup here. Just a form, just a game. Another little me there. But first we need to connect the Drupal site, or connect Godot to the Drupal site. And for that, I am using DDEV, but there's a little bit of weirdness with Godot where it doesn't like connecting to localhost for a Docker install. So I'm using ngrok or DDEV share here. Update the URL. And now, when I hit pull question, what Drupal version solved DrupalCon? You can clap, but you haven't answered yet. 732, really, 732. Pull another question. I only have 2 in there. Why? Because. Now, we can go over into Drupal here. We can create a new question. Now we can go back over to Godot, pull question. What's the best Drupal camp? Everybody knows it's mid-camp. So now you can clap because we just updated in real time. Thank you, thank you. All right. Now, character creator. Yes, you can use it because you can store images in Godot or in Drupal. And let me go back to the change here. Now, how do we do that? By looking at the wrong screen, that's how. There we are. How? Well, we can store images or body parts in Drupal, categorize them, arms, legs, head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. We can pull in the images to Godot, and we can save the images on the user's disk to prevent extra HTTP requests and extra downloading. So you can basically cache them. So we don't need to re-download them after it. A good use for this too is seasonal things. You want to add a Santa hat around Christmas, you could update it in Drupal and have the users download it when it's time instead of having to do a long update. So I will show a brief demo of Character Creator, but not quite Character Creator. Just updating a sprite. Let's call it that. Okay. So restart the app here. This is odd. No, wait. There he is. Now let's create a sprite sheet. Don't need any text there. Let's add media. Guess what? I already added it. So we insert this. Save it. And cross our fingers. There we go. So nice to not have to prompt you for that. Thank you. All right, there are a lot of other options of things that we can do, but I was too lazy to make them all. But here's a couple ideas. RPGs. You could store loot stats, tables, NPC stats. You could plan a story and dialogue through content in Drupal for a visual novel. You could store 3D assets and materials in Drupal. You can. I worked on something a long time ago where they wanted objects to be visible, 3D objects, and I don't know why, but you can do it. You could keep interactions and text in Drupal, data from games to compare stats, kind of like what Hounder is doing. Has anybody played the Hounder game? I know Hayden has. He's got like the top 5 of the top 5. Okay, well, I showed the demo a little bit too early. I forgot about that slide. So we'll just get to another, oh, no more boss fight. Let's keep moving. All right, here be dragons and pumpkins. It's not all unicorns, rainbows, and glitter. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. You might be trying to push large content updates that disrupt gameplay. You need to be concerned with security when communicating between a user's device and any kind of server. Content could get out of sync if there's a server or network disruption. You need to be concerned with security when communicating between a user's device and any kind of server. You need to make sure that errors are handled correctly without disrupting the user experience, and you need to be concerned with security when communicating between a user's device and a server. Seriously. Make sure you're not exposing your users or yourself. All right. There's no boss. I've been leading you all on. And that's it. So bonus level, end credits. There's my info. Then real quick, any questions? Yep. Got questions? Yeah.
It looks very awesome.
Thank you.
Do you have any examples of this working on performance-wise, on a larger implementation when you have a lot of users playing games?
No, this was mainly a proof of concept before anything else. I haven't built out anything big with it. I would like to. I'd like to maybe make a trivia game and just be able to update, but No, I haven't done anything like this yet. Yeah.
As far as like the structure of a game is like a distribution of a game. So if you were to make something using this process, is the intention for this to be like a web-based game because it's using HTTP requests, or would you run this natively on hardware like over network connection? Like, is this something that you think could be bundled as like it sounded like Godot doesn't necessarily like working with Docker, for example, but like, do you see a situation where you could like package this together and have it run on distributed hardware, or would this be like a browser-based situation?
So the question was, and if I rephrase it incorrectly, whether or not this would be distributed, basically web-based application compared to running on a user's device. It could go either way. The way that I kind of envision it is having Drupal as being the central hub for the content, and when a user starts up their game, does a quick ping to the server, check if there's anything updated. If there is, really quick, pull in new questions, pull in new sprite sheets, whatever. But Godot does allow to export for web builds, so you can technically play it in the browser, but it could go either way. Yeah.
Does Godot have any API, so instead of having to try to hit on the server every single time, you can just click one button and it'll create the nodes inside Godot, so then you're not too dependent on the Drupal JSON API every time you want to just play the questions or anything like that?
Yeah, you can do that. You can save the data, just like you save any game. If you queue it up, and if there's no changes when you hit the API, or if everything's the same, so you don't re-download it, you could do it similar to a lot of things where you just check the dates. Latest update is this. I have this date. Okay, let's download it, and you can save that to a local disk with. There's a couple different configuration files that you can save data with, but you can save it to the local. To the user's local device, just like saving any other game. And I'm sorry, the question, I'm really bad at repeating questions, so if I don't repeat yours, just stop me. The question was, basically on caching data rather than re-downloading?
So more in the sense of, can you get Godot to create nodes, like actual, I haven't touched Godot very bit, but I understand that nodes, and you can have like text inside of it and stuff. Is there a way to do like just a one build so it dynamically creates the nodes for you? And so there's really no internet connection involved once it's already been like compiled and such?
Yes. I mean, with enough time and a big enough budget, you can do anything. But that would take a lot. It would take quite a bit. Yeah.
Did you ever have time to play with the WebSocket and Drupal?
Not with Drupal, no, but I have used WebSockets in Godot for when I'm streaming on Twitch. I don't have my setup here, but I have WebSockets set up so that anytime something happens, a chat message, somebody comes in, whatever, something happens on screen. And that's all through Godot as well. I use a game engine for non-game engine stuff a lot. Okay. Other questions? Yeah, way in the back.
I have two questions.
Okay.
So, this is probably a dumb question.
Never.
I assume you built your presentation in Godot.
I did.
Is there anywhere we can play it?
No. I'll show you, and I'll show you why too, because I'm kind of proud. Well, I'm very proud of it. I'm not gonna say I'm kind of proud. Start mirroring.
Do you want to repeat the question for the recording?
Oh yeah. Thank you. The question was, can you play my presentation? So here it is itself. I've got everything lined up here, all the slides. The first iteration of this, the talk that I gave last year, I did it a little bit, well, I did it poorly. All of the slides themselves were PNGs that I downloaded from Google Slides. But I changed it here now so that every slide is generated with a different slide type. And I can edit and add bullets, add text, add everything from within Godot. But the reason that I don't have it available is because, run back, I have my speaker notes on a separate screen. So it has two windows, and I don't really want to deal with exporting an application with two windows and worrying people when they download it in executable. All right. Yeah. No, you right in the middle, sorry. I have a lazy eye, so if I'm... Oh, yeah, sorry.
How would you feel about using the Drupal login system as part of your game?
I started working on that, but it got away from me. It works. You can do it, and I had it set up. I couldn't get it working on this computer. It works on my machine. For most of my, don't hate me for this, but for most of my game dev, I use a Windows machine because I've got that powerful GPU. And I had it working there where I had a button that you'd press to log in or to authorize, and it would take you to Drupal, open up the website, and if you didn't have an account, it would have you create an account or log in, and then it would send the API key back. But OAuth is a bit of a pain. All right, first you. Oh, what's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part. It's not a public repo. All right, Matt.
Do you know, are people or organizations using Godot to do like non-game applications?
I don't know about organizations, but there are a lot of non-game applications that are made with Godot. And I can. This program, Material Maker, is made in Godot. It's for making 3D materials that can be used in Godot or in anything else. There is also one, I can't remember. Pixelorama, which is for making pixel art made with Godot. And the Godot engine itself, the editor, is made in Godot. Don't think about it.
You mentioned that you are able to write script in either C# or Godot script.
GD script, yeah.
GD script. I think I've read that there are other language implementations for Godot. Have you tried those? What do you think?
So the question was, are there other languages you can use with Godot? And is that a good summary? So you can. People have made their own extensions to use different languages. And another similarity between Drupal and Godot, instead of modules, we have assets. It's not in here. But I haven't tried any of them because I don't know the languages. I know enough C# to be dangerous. I don't know any C++. I don't know any Rust. But there are extensions to use different languages. It's just you almost have to recompile the entire engine to make it work that way. Hayden.
Are you down to show everybody what you've been working on for a few minutes?
I can if we have time. No, I couldn't get it pulled up. I appreciate the effort, but. Okay, let's see. So this is something I've been working on. Basically, Hero Dev's a video game merchandising, where the real money from the con is made. And do I have, I just added a new enemy to it. So it's a side-scrolling space shooter. Let me just make sure that all the enemies are here. There we go. Oh, I don't have controller yet. And so the different enemies are different vulnerabilities. I just killed cross-site scripting. This one is a 0-day. And we're gonna change up the projectiles from just little Godot faces running around. Also, they can't do any damage to me, so it's pretty much God mode. But yeah, the goal is, and Hounder beat me to it, but to have this as a game to play at events and get the high score, win a prize. Sorry, I'm getting distracted playing my own game. It's kind of fun. All right, so any other questions?
How often are you streaming on Twitch?
4 days a week, usually. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes Thursday, and then Saturdays during the day. Most of them are after I get off work. Oh, there we go. We got the SQL injection there. So one nice thing, the function that I just found is random weighted. So you can create an array of weights. And so the little cross-site scripting, they show up a lot more often than the dangerous 0-day here. And so I have like a pretty good ratio. Hold still. Okay.
Is this using the Drupal backend as well?
No, not yet.
But that's in the pipeline?
Maybe. All right, let me close this out. All right, any other questions? I think I saw a hand. Oh, Oz, was that your question? Okay.
I would say that just that you could be the first open source game, because theirs is using Unity.
What's that?
The Founder game is using Unity. You could be the first open source game.
True. And, well, we're recorded, so I don't want to say too much about why I chose Godot over Unity, but there were some things. Any other questions? Well, let's get through here. And of course, contribution every day. And the code of conduct. They asked to put these slides in, so there we go. And all right, and that's it.